Good morning, everybody. It's Lynn, the Leather Bag Lady. How are you all today? It is 20 to 12. I just looked, bring you down a little bit. My Cape Breton sweater that I have only just worn for the first time today because it's cold in here again. Anyway, it's 20 to 12, and I just looked at my watch to see what time in the morning it was, and I was like, holy shit, it's already 20 to 12. I have a feeling today's going to be a long video, folks, so just letting you know. But obviously, if you don't want to hang out for story time, you don't have to. We'll get started with today's bag. So, the last few bags I've listed, there's been quite a bit of Canadian content, and today is no different. I have sold this bag before. It is a beautiful Leco dark blue leather bag. This bag, I think the one I sold was black, I do believe. But this is a real 80s, another Crystal Carrington bag, I feel. I like this silhouette. For someone who's not a structured bag lover, I don't know, it's so simple. It's Canadian made, which I really adore. The leather quality is really nice. I love this just simple little patent accent, which is hiding a zipper pocket. And then you've got your interior. There's your Leco made in Canada and your Leco embossed silky material. It has a zipper pocket and no foam pouches. I've dated this as an 80s bag, and I think that's probably fairly accurate. There is a tiny little bit of color loss on the edge of this metal strap buckle, which allows you to adjust. It's just a really nice little bag. If you're a vintage lover, then you have already embraced the vintage style. So I find that the vintage bags are very simple, especially the Canadian made ones. We've had this conversation before. There's not all the buckles and chains and, not a lot of outside pockets and frilly bits and pieces, which is why I really like this bag and the red bag from yesterday that had the little patent, just the little peekaboo patent pieces in it. As opposed to something like this, which is a lot more modern, which has, like all this texture and buckles and that darker, well, I guess it depends on how the light hits it. There is a bit of a darker patch on that bag, as we discussed already. But yeah, like we just don't have all that frilliness. And I really like that about the vintage bags. And again, made in Canada, I'm always going to enjoy bringing you Canadian made content, as I am I was born in Glasgow, Scotland, came to Canada at 12 years old. So I'm not born and bred Canadian, but I've spent the majority of my life in Canada. So that is today's bag. So a bunch of things today. First of all, my girlfriend Pamela messaged me last night and said, how do I find you on, what's your Etsy shop name? And she said, I'm looking at the link in your Instagram. So I had no idea that Instagram will not allow links to other social media platforms, which just kind of blows me away. They all seem to, I don't know, I guess it's maybe a Zuckerberg, Elon Musk maybe situation where one platform is not as in bed with the other as we think they are. But you would think that they would be making it easy for us to put our information on our socials. I don't really know what I'm doing necessarily, and I was just bitching to Pius that my phone updated again overnight. And today I had to do my listing for Etsy today 3 times because the format for loading the photos has changed because of this update. And you know what? For us old fogies, we are just getting on board with something and it's working for us. And then our phones get updated and we don't know what the freaking hell we're doing anymore. So I was so frustrated with that. So I got that finally sorted out. I didn't go to the gym this morning, which kind of brings me to what I think I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about today. So I woke up this morning and Pius woke me up to say goodbye, and I did go back into a sleep. And I just didn't feel like going to the gym today. I was a little bit sore. Like my arms are still sore from Monday. So I thought, I'm not going to bother. And then it makes me feel like shit. So today I weighed in instead of tomorrow. I've lost 4 pounds. I guess 4 pounds is 4 pounds, but I thought it was way more than that. I feel like it's way more than that. So maybe I should just go by that. But it was just so frustrating. It's like, oh my God. But Pius did point out to me that we kind of do what we want on the weekends. And, he said, if you can still lose 4 pounds doing that over the month, then, really maybe you should be happy about it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not. So then I kind of thought about it and I thought, you know what? Why do I procrastinate all the time? Why do I put things off all the time? I'm an overthinker to start with, which kind of puts me in a very particular category. But why can't I just get things done? And I decided that I was going to maybe check it out on YouTube. Let's see what somebody else has to say about maybe some skills and tips on how to deal with procrastination. So I found this woman, her name is Mel Robbins. I was like, well, any relation to Tony Robbins? I'm not sure. And she has this whole podcast about, almost like a TED Talk kind of thing. So she starts talking about procrastination. And now I'm even worse than I was. So her philosophy is, and again, this is probably going to be a long one, but if this is something that is on your plate, maybe it might be worth having a listen. She says that procrastination is our own fight or flight method of avoiding stress. I'm like, okay. So she kind of unpacked it a little bit. The cleaning of the bathroom floor, the cleaning of the kitchen floor, the cleaning of the whatever floor it's not the action that you're avoiding. It is the stress load that creates the action of avoiding. So it's almost like your mind is trying to avoid stress. And when you have things going on in your life that are stressing you out, those mindless hours scrolling Facebook, scrolling Marketplace, scrolling TikTok, shopping, going, having a few drinks, all those things are just your own psyche's way of avoiding stress. So it's not the activity that is the issue. It's the call to action that is the issue, if that makes any sense. So she starts talking about if you've got stress with your kids. I have stress with my kids right now. My daughter's not where I would like her to be in life. My son has the potential to be where he needs to be in life, but is kind of fucking it up. And then she talked about your surroundings, your environment. Well, if you follow me with any type of regularity, you know the stress that this house causes me. And my mind is, well, if I could just fix it, if I could just sort it out, tidy it up, get rid of shit, get the ceilings ready to go, then all that stress would go away. But her philosophy is the action of cleaning it up, sorting it out, until your stress level is manageable, you're not going to be able to do any of that stuff. Okay, but my house isn't going anywhere. So I'm either going to be on a perpetual hamster wheel because nobody else is going to do this for me. And I mean, I've had offers, my mom and dad have offered to help, and, you know, even my kids have offered to come in and help, but it's something that I'm a little embarrassed about. And it's also something that I feel like I have to do it myself. And I know how easy it is. If you've ever walked into somebody else's stress and you've said, well, you just need to do this, 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 and this. Even Pius, when Pius and I first met and we decided we were going to live together, my issue with him was his finances. And I'm like, well, just go and get this, do this, do this, do this. And he did it. And we need to have a chat. Pius, I'm sorry, baby cakes, but we're going to be having a chat. Because Pius doesn't ever seem like he has any stress. And I know he had some things happen in the last few years. He lost ex-work colleague to a workplace accident where he lost his life. And Pius took on a completely different attitude to his own life. Plus, you know, getting older, having been through, I mean, this marriage of ours is not our first, it's not even our second. So we've been through some shit. And I went through a box of stuff from Pius. I took it from the storage unit yesterday. And I saw how much shit he went through. His separation agreements and all, you know, and I mean, I kind of thought, oh shit, maybe he doesn't want me going through this. But I went through it because we had somewhere to go with some of it. And if I didn't do it during the day, it wasn't going to get done. So I need to, we are very different, Pius and I, or at least on the surface, it feels like we are very different in that Pius is very laid back. He doesn't really sweat the small stuff that much. He acknowledges my situation where I am a huge overthinker, but I don't know that we've really kind of put our priorities on the table in terms of where we are. Pius is a little further down the trail as a father. His daughters are both married. They have kids. They appear to be happy and functioning and moving forward with their life. Whereas my two kids are 24, 25. They don't even, I mean, Sarah has a boyfriend, but I don't, after the last 3-4 weeks of her life and what we've been through with it, I don't even consider that a viable relationship anymore. Sorry, Sarah, if you're watching, but I don't. And Harry, you know, is a single man, and they're not at that launch point in their life. And I worry about them. You know, the climate that we're in right now, they pretty well would have to rob a bank to buy a house. Not that that's anything they want to do at this stage of their life, but anyway, that is still a concern for me because I still see there being a knock at the door one day and they need to find somewhere to live. And this is not somewhere where we can make that happen. So that's on my mind. And then there comes my business, which I've taken a massive break on my business because I met my now husband. We were enjoying each other's company. We were playing hooky a lot. Well, I was anyway. But I need to kind of get very real with that. And that is just that the schedule that I now keep is not going to get me where I want to be in my business. So I have to make one of two decisions, and Pius and I need to sit down and talk about this. Do we want our schedule to be the way it is? In which case, this little business of mine really probably isn't going to grow much more than it already is, which is fine. Or, is it important for me to increase my earnings, to increase my contribution to our marriage, to our life? And in which case, then we need to make some decisions, because I cannot get where I need to be financially with the productivity that I am currently realizing. So this whole procrastination dive really has kind of, I've kind of known this stuff for a while. I would work from the minute I woke up at night, in the morning rather, to when I would go to bed at night. And bed at night for me was 12:30, 1:30. So my schedule is nowhere near what it was. And I'm okay with that. But I have to recognize that the end game is not going to be what it was. And financially, or productivity, that kind of thing. And I don't necessarily think that Pius cares, but I don't, he's been through some situations, some relationships in the past where people have just wanted him for, a money bank, or a reason that they only have to work part-time, or a reason that they don't have to work at all. And I certainly do not want to put myself in that category, because I'm always going to be doing my bags. But if I'm doing my bags in moments where I have the time versus, Pius's schedule right now is so shortened because of his shoulder. And as I mentioned yesterday, he got a date for consultation with a surgeon in May next year. So this could be a very prolonged situation. And I work right here. Probably not the most practical way to do my day, but it's been how I've always done it. So either that needs to change, where I need to remove myself from where I am so that I can be more focused and get my job done. And when Pius comes home at 2:00, 2:15, 2:30, he's here for a few hours without me because I'm still working. Or, as I said, we need to have a conversation where it's like, what I get done, I get done. And then the whole issue with this house, which is probably the number one issue for me, the heaviness over my head of getting this house ready for the spray foam is kind of suffocating, actually. And it could well be that it's just that situation that I talked about earlier in our chat, where, somebody else could come in and go, well, just do this, this, and this. And you know what? If somebody else could come in and tell me what to do, I would do it. But for me to come up with it myself, and I've talked about a schedule where I do a little something every day, but every day I'm not able to do it. By the time I've done my video, I've done my reel, I've cleaned my bags, I've done laundry, I've organized supper, I've gone to the gym, talked to my mom, Pius is home. And then it's like, all right, so what are we doing for the rest of the day? And I'm like, oh, fuck. I've still got a whole day's work ahead of me. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure how to handle it, to be honest. Not sure at all. And just some of the talking points that this lady was highlighting was just like, okay, yeah, that feels very familiar. It feels very real for me. And then there's a whole other aspect of it where I feel like I should be so grateful, because I think about, if Pius wasn't in my life, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I would be back in my old routine. I would be working the way I was working and ramping up my schedule to travel and do shows. And I'm not complaining about that. I'll take Pius over that any day. But I'm going to have to adjust my expectations. And I need to know what Pius's expectations are. And I haven't really been brave enough to ask him that, because I don't think he realizes just how absent from my little empire that I was trying to build. And money is not the motivator for me. I need money to live and pay the bills. And I want to contribute my share of what we do here. I mean, Pius pretty well pays for everything we do socially, because I just don't have that money. And I never did. And I did not really have any social outlet other than going to my little Rosie's around the corner, hanging out with a couple of girlfriends, and, doing my once a month in the falls, my thrifting. That was all my world, and I was really happy with it. And Pius has come along and changed that for me, and it is amazing. This is not a shit on Pius chat at all. This is just me still trying to adjust to this new life that I have, and wondering where my old life fits, if it fits at all. I mean, Pius goes to work, and that is the priority. But my work, because it doesn't bring in a regular paycheck, because I don't have a regular schedule, because I don't have a regular, my morning routine is very set. I get up, I go to the gym, I come home, I, work on a bag if I need to before I list it. Like today's bag, I had to moisturize the shit out of it. And that could be something, back to today's bag, that might need to be a continuing. Sometimes when my moisturizer kind of calms down a little bit, it might show there was a couple of little dry areas here, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And that's just the leather better, which is just amazing. But back to what we were talking about. This is probably part of my problem too, is I just run all over the place. I need to, I need to address some issues so that I can, move forward with, my fitness goals, which thank goodness I have not let those go. And the days that I choose not to go, there's such a difference in my head between choosing not to go and not being able to go. I don't even think twice about it if I can't go, scheduling or art crawl or whatever. But if I choose not to go, oh my goodness me, I beat myself up. I really, really do. I am my own worst enemy. I understand that. But the fact still remains that it is me. And maybe it's you out there too. And I have to figure out a way to make all of those things as functional as possible. It's like my lists, when I write my lists, which I did today because I knew I was feeling a little wonky and I needed to get certain things done today. And it's not even, well, I guess it's a little bit of the ability to check those things off, but it's just reminding me that this is next, this is next, this is next. And then hitting the things that I don't want to do. Like I said, the thought of cleaning this house out. I mean, it doesn't need to be cleaned out completely for the ceilings, but it's not a priority for Pius either. And I get a little frustrated with that sometimes because I'm trying to organize it because I feel responsible because it's my house. I mean, I don't treat it that way with Pius. I don't think I do. And we've talked about that. And he said, no, at no point have you made me feel that this is my house and you're living in my house. But I do feel that the issues that were with my house prior to Pius moving in are still my responsibility. Even though financially I couldn't fix them, I couldn't do anything about them, I didn't willingly neglect them. I just didn't have the resources to be able to fix them. And now that I do, it's my job to do it. And I've stuck to that. All the renos we did before moving in. I mean, obviously Pius gave his man hours, but I paid for all the materials and I was there, to help him in any way I could. So I think we just need to regroup a little bit. Mel Robbins was the name of this lady. I don't know if it was a good thing that I listened to this because my head is now, and then I feel guilty, like I was starting to say, because there's so many people in my life who are shared with you yesterday. I have a cousin who's going to pass any day with ALS, 51, 52, I think he is. I had a cousin 4 months ago, died unexpectedly with a stroke. My aunt just had a stroke. My mom's best friend's husband just passed away from Parkinson's. It just doesn't end. And here I am, and all I'm worried about is, clean out my house so I can have spray foam installed. But it doesn't feel like a little issue for me. It does feel huge, but I feel guilty about that. So I'm losing my mind. I really am think I'm losing my mind. And you know what? I know whether or not you're still with me at 25 minutes in. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But it does help me to just kind of say it out loud. I'm not a writer. I've tried to keep a journal. I've tried to, I do my lists, and that's great, but I'm not a journaler. I'm a talker. So this is what I do. And I don't care if nobody is still listening to me. This helps me. And yeah, I already told Pius that I was watching this thing, and I'm sure he's probably like, oh God, here we go. But you know what? It's all part and parcel of what goes through my mind every day. And maybe I'm not busy enough because I sit here and it gives me time to think. I don't know. But it certainly is something that has struck a chord today. And that is why we are having this chat. If you are still with me, Nora, I know you're still with me, and you're probably making dinner right now, and you're listening to me in the background. That's my girl, Nora. She always is listening to me. Hopefully you're not a procrastinator, Nora, and if you are, you got it all figured out. Anyway, everybody, on that note, have a great rest of the day. I'm going to really try. I really, really am. I've got 2 hours until Pius gets home, and then we're probably going to have a little bit of a chitty chat later on today, just to see if he can help me help myself a little bit, because he has no problem helping me. But the thing is, we say it, but we don't do it. So that is what needs to change, I feel. But anyway, everybody, have a great rest of the day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.